Hey, everybody, it's Matt, and it's Thursday, and that means it's Fantasy Football Almost Daily's DFS show. Trevor and I are about to give you our favorite DFS plays of the week. We hope we've helped you win a few bucks this season. If we have, please make sure that you've given us a great rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or some thumbs up on YouTube. If you've subscribed to FFAD, we thank you so much. Tomorrow, we've got the first Fantasy Friday of the playoffs coming up. You'll get the same crew as last week. It's Trevor, it's Maj, and it's me previewing all the games, giving you some guys to roll the dice on, answering questions that are tough nuts to crack, and more. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to Fantasy Football Almost Daily. And try Great Game Blazers this week for your share of $36,000 in free-to-play contests. Sign up with the referral code FFAD for a free starter pack and a free rare pack. And you'll get a spend 5, get 50 offer once you finish onboarding. You get 2 more rare packs as well. Download Game Blazers today. Today, we dive deep into the Sunday slate for Week 15 on Fanball with T-Bone Jones. But first, music.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
Hey, Trevor, how you doing today?
Good, Matt. Is that some new intro music for us as well?
Yeah, my son Tate actually arranged that for us, and he's
Oh.
big into like video game music stuff. So it sounds a little bit like a Super Smash Bros. Like board, and I'm totally fine with that. I love it.
Do we have clearance from Spotify to use music that your son has composed?
As long as he doesn't put it up on Spotify as an artist, I think we're going to be okay.
Okay. All right. That's good.
But we never know. We never know. We're going to preview Week 15 from our DFS perspective on this show. And while we generally use those Fanball figures, remember, most of the information you can use on any other of the salary cap sites. Before we do that, let's go around the league and look at the latest news.
News team, assemble!
I started with the laughable Colts situation with Scott Fish the other day, and we're going to start there again. Daniel Jones is out for the year. Anthony Richardson still on IR with an orbital bone fracture, which happened in warmups. Riley Leonard has a strained knee ligament and is week to week, which doesn't sound promising when you're week to week. So we're likely looking at either Phillip Rivers or Brett Rippon against Seattle on Sunday.
Yeah. I don't think I want anything to do with what's going to happen. It's Seattle too, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the worst, one of the toughest spots for a guy who's since been retired for 5 years to, try to push through.
Yeah, it might be an absolute disaster for whoever the Colts quarterback is. We'll talk more about that matchup later. DK Metcalf is back in Pittsburgh. He stayed in Baltimore with some stomach issues, but Mike Tomlin says he'll play this week. The Browns lost Jerome Ford for the remainder of the season with a shoulder injury. He was taking snaps from Quinshon Judkins, so if you're a Judkins owner, that's good news for you. My guy Troy Franklin shedding a tear here. His snap share decreased to 25% last week. Some are calling it a soft benching. Uh-oh. That's not good.
You got Sean Payton. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. CD Lamb is trending toward playing on Sunday night, but head coach Brian Schottenheimer says that he still has 2 more steps in the concussion protocol to yet clear. Now, his concussion happened on Thursday, so it's a 10-day off waiting period here. So that helps Lamb, but if you're having to make a decision about your Sunday night starter for Week 15 and you're Lamb in or Lamb out, that's a pretty tough decision right there. A guy who would go in the opposite side in that game, Jordan Addison, he popped up on the injury report with an Achilles injury. That's always concerning that it's new. Devon Achane was limited in practice on Thursday with a rib injury that knocked him out of the game last week against the Jets. He said he could have kept playing, but the Dolphins were already up 3 touchdowns on the Jets at that time. So they're just like, nah, you're okay, dude. You go sit over there. Kenny Pickett will start at quarterback for the Raiders on Sunday. Geno Smith is out with shoulder and back injuries. Rome Odunze was limited in practice after missing last week's game. I guess that's a positive sign for Rome. And it doesn't look like Marvin Harrison is going to play again this week. He's still working on that heel injury. It's a tough matchup anyway against the Texans. All right. I'm going to play the Fanball ad. Let's do that.
Fanball is DFS for those of us who can't devote full-time job hours to scouring news feeds, memorizing depth charts, or tracking our status on the Roto Grinders Top 50. We get it. You've got a life. But also enjoy a good sweat when you're not coaching Little League or taking in your 5th soccer game of the weekend. And at Fanball, you can still 20, 50, or even 100x your entry fee. Every week of the NFL season has 3 feature tournaments. You can take down the $1,000 top prize in the Peacock with just a $20 entry. $5 gets you in the High Five, where first place wins $400. Or throw a buck in the Buck Hunter for a shot at the $100 top prize. And if you decide you want a little more skin in the game, you can find up to $100 NFL double-ups and $50 winner-take-alls. So register today at Fanball to scratch that DFS itch without worrying about whales. And use promo code ALMOST for an up to $20 deposit match.
I couldn't have explained Fanball better myself, so we let Maj do it.
Amen.
All right, time to dig into week 15. No buys this week. All 32 teams are in play for the rest of the year. The Falcons and Buccaneers play Thursday night. If you're listening to this on Thursday, that's great. If you want a preview of that game, check out yesterday's podcast episode. If you're listening to this after Thursday, I hope the scores went well for you. But if you want to play in that Fanball Thursday night contest tonight, it's a very extra special 5x5. All of the good players are $4 or less. You should see the $5 players in it. It's hilariously bad.
We got like defenses and kickers up there, or what's the?
No. Like 4th string tight ends and stuff like that. Yeah, really bad. All right, Trevor, let's lead off with the player who's going to be in half or more of your Fanball lineups this week. What do you got?
Yeah, we're going back to probably the best cash receiver we got. Puka Nacua, 8,300 at home against Detroit. The Lions-Rams game is currently at a 55.5 over-under, which I believe is the highest of the year. I know Bengals-Bills got to like 54, 55 last week. Puka finally got a couple of touchdowns away from Devontae Adams last week, though he did have to do it from 28 and 31 yards away because inside the 20 is Devontae time. Detroit's a dream matchup, though, allowing the 2nd most wide receiver touchdowns, already 20 on the year, and the 5th most yards to the position. LA's got a 30.5 team total, which is the highest on the slate. Just in the last 3 weeks, Detroit has allowed 9, 156, and 1 to Wan'Dale Robinson, 194 and 4 touchdowns to the Packers' collection of receivers on Thanksgiving. And then CeeDee Lamb and Ryan Flournoy each cleared 115 last week, even with CeeDee Lamb missing half the game. I'm not going to miss out on Puka here in what could be maybe the best spot all time in his career.
Sorry, I had to adjust some things. My dog started going nuts and barking all over the place. So
She was excited about Puka. I get it.
she really is, and I'm excited about Puka too. The high end wide receivers this week are really, really tempting. My guy that I'm going to have in close to half my lineups a little bit this week. He's a little cheaper than some of those high end wide receivers, and I hear it's Dehember, which means it's time to use Derrick Henry, 7,200 at Cincinnati. Hattie, shut up. Hattie, seriously, shut up.
We said Cincinnati, not Hattie.
Yeah, Cincinnati. He took 26 touches for 102 combo yards last week. And he gets the Bengals this week. They're the worst run defense in the league. I don't have to go way into it there. But the Ravens and Bengals, you may remember, played just 2 weeks ago on Thanksgiving night. Henry had 10 carries for 60 yards and a score on the ground. He added in a 44-yard reception in that game. So that was good. But it was only 11 touches. And the Ravens lost that game by 18, which is somewhat embarrassing. 11 touches for Henry was his lowest touch total since week 4. And in the last 3 years, he's only been held to 11 touches 3 times. So it's not very often that happens. By the way, each of those times where he was 11 or fewer touches, Henry's team lost that game. So I think feeding King Henry is key here. I think it's going to be a course correction after the meeting 2 weeks ago, and I think Baltimore's offense rolls in this one.
I agree. I think And because he ran the ball well against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, but like you said, he just didn't have enough touches for it to matter. So I think they correct that this week.
I don't know why they would go away 6 yards per carry. Go away from that. That makes sense. Yep. All right, a player above 7,000 on Fanball who you would not put in any of your lineups this week, Trevor.
Yeah, I'm going James Cook. He's 7,800 in New England. The Patriots have one of the league's best rushing defenses. They've only allowed one enemy back to clear 100 yards, and that was Chase Brown. Cook had 15 touches for 49 yards in a scoreless effort in their Week 5 matchup against the Patriots. Cook also has just 1 touchdown in the past 3 games, despite a massive 75 touches. So it's not an awful play, but I'd rather spend my money on some of the 7K receivers or drop down a running back to Saquon or Derrick Henry, who you just mentioned, for like $500 to $300 less.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I got another high-priced runner that I'm not putting in my lineups. It's Jonathan Taylor. He dropped out of the $9,000 range, which is good for the first time in several weeks, but he's still 8,500. He's at Seattle. And the problem is, at best, he's down to a third-string quarterback, and at worst, he's got a 44-year-old who hasn't played in 5 years, or Brett Rippon under center. And we saw what Seattle did to a bad quarterback 2 weeks ago with Minnesota. Seattle's great against the run. They're top 3 in yards per carry, rush yards, and rushing scores. They haven't allowed a rushing touchdown at home since Week 5. The silver lining is, for Taylor, I guess, the Seahawks give up the second most receptions to opposing runners, and this shapes up to be dump-off city for whoever is quarterback. So you got to take Jonathan Taylor and play him in your season-long leagues. I think that's fine. I think he's got double-digit targets is probably in the cards for him this week. He could catch 10 balls in this game, which would be great, but the price is too high on the DFS sites, and I find it unlikely that the Colts are going to score many touchdowns or be in a spot where they can afford to run the ball anymore, because we're going to highlight more of the Seattle side of this a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I think, like you said, it's dead on arrival for basically everyone on Indy this week.
Yeah. All right. Your favorite quarterbacks of the week. Let's start with your expensive guy, Trevor.
Yeah, expensive guy. Usually I try to go for a kind of a dual threat, a Hurts and Allen, somebody like that. We're just going for like the most statuesque guy in the league. We got Matt Stafford at 6,800 home against Detroit. Everything I said about Puka, it is a revenge game. We'll get to that here. Everything I said about Puka applies here too. Obviously, Detroit's given up 25 passing touchdowns already, which is bottom 5 in the league. They're also bottom 3rd of the league in passing yards allowed. It is the revenge game. This is the 3rd time around for this matchup. I don't know how much this matters, but his 2 career starts against Detroit resulted in 3-17-1 in Week 1 of last year, and then in the 2023 playoffs in that divisional round or wild card maybe 3-67-2. So pretty good both times. And then I'm going to steal a page from your playbook, Matt, with the Devontae Adams number of games with 0 touchdowns or 1, and then 2 or 3. Yeah. Stafford's got 6 games with 1 or 2 passing touchdowns. When it comes to throwing for 3, 4, or 5, he has 7 of those. He's also right there with Drake May for the MVP. So that could be on the brain here a little bit when it comes to how aggressive they are in the red zone with Stafford.
I agree. I like Stafford a lot this week. My expensive pick, it's kind of a ballsy pick. It's Lamar Jackson at an even 7,000 at Cincinnati. He's the second highest price quarterback on the slate, and he's only hit 17 Fanball points once in his last 5 games. However, it came last week against Pittsburgh, and he showed some signs of life. He ran for 43 yards and a score. It was his first rushing score since Week 1, and it was the most rushing yards he's had since he came back from the injury. He would have had 2 more passing scores in the last 2 weeks had Isaiah Likely not just buttered his hands before every play. And the Bengals are a great matchup. The 2nd most passing yards allowed, the 4th most passing scores, the 9th most rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. This all sets up nicely, and I think people will remember the bad month and fade Lamar Jackson here, but I don't mind doing a Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry tandem in some lineups this week.
And it's kind of, this is it for Baltimore, right? Like their playoff hopes are teetering greatly. They can't afford more losses. It feels like it would be a kitchen sink game where Lamar's running as much as he can and Henry's getting 25 touches. So I do like pairing them both together.
To be honest, the Bengals have an outside shot of winning this division too, and it kind of hinges on this game too. So yeah, it's a big game for both teams here. Who's your budget quarterback, Trevor?
Yeah, on the cheap side, we'll go CJ Stroud, 5,500 home for the Cardinals. He hasn't really had a ceiling yet since in his first 2 games back from injury, but this could be the spot. On the season, Arizona's dead center of the pack against quarterbacks. However, they've allowed 3 of their last 4 opposing quarterbacks to throw for 3 touchdowns. And that includes some kind of ugly names. Stroud's also working with his most talented pass catcher this season, with Jaden Higgins starting to play well as a rookie, and all of his other options are healthy. Schultz, Kirk, those guys. I'm a bit worried that Houston's defense just suffocates the Cardinals because they're excellent, but I do think Jacoby Brissett has 5 straight games with at least 40 passing attempts. So I think just the volume alone should keep Stroud needing to get to 24 or 27 points. And I'd also throw a bonus one here, Marcus Mariota at 5,500.
Did you see the video of CJ Stroud leaving Texans owner Bob McNair hanging on a high five at the end of the game last week?
No, I have not. Did
yeah.
he just obviously leave him hanging, or?
Like, no, he was like going through and McNair puts his hand up and Stroud just kind of like walks by and McNair just like left his hand up like, oh. And then the Texans, to their credit, their social media team had McNair like show up and do a video of him just still having his hand in the air.
Okay.
And people were like, oh, you want a high five? And they're like, no, that's for CJ. It was great.
I was gonna say, it's either got to be that or the cell 5 after you get stood up there.
There we go. My budget pick, another ballsy pick, JJ McCarthy, 5,100 at Dallas. This is the minimum price for a starting quarterback this week, and it's against the best matchup in the league in Dallas. Now, I am a Vikings fan, so I know the struggles. They've been widely reported, but against a similarly bad Commanders defense last week, JJ just went out and ran the offense as simply as he could. He threw 3 touchdown passes in that game. Now, did he miss some big plays? Absolutely. He had Jefferson open about 35 yards downfield, and he didn't see him. And instead, he scrambled and ran for a first down on that play. But he's come up in some big spots on the road in similar situations. He had good days in Chicago and Detroit, both of those not elite pass defenses there. And the Cowboys are the most not elite pass defense there is. They're bottom 5 in every passing category. The lowest point total a quarterback has had this year against Dallas was Geno Smith's 17.3 fan ball points.
Oh, man.
So that's the bottom. That's the floor, it seems. JJ can return value for you at 17.3 fantasy points. And I'm thinking the upside's like a 20 or 30 point game here for him. So I like JJ McCarthy here. He adds a little bit on the ground game. I think he's a fine play for Sunday night.
I like that spot too. Actually, I think some of the rhetoric coming out of the Vikings, press conferences and stuff, was that they simplified things. Maybe they didn't try not to say dumb down, but just really kind of make it simple. And you saw it with the 6 rushing attempts. I think you just saw him more willing to use the athleticism, which is a plus NFL skill that he has. Like, he can put 30, 40 rushing yards on a team, fairly easily.
I heard Kevin O'Connell interviewed, and he said that McCarthy was trying to diagnose so many things at the line that it was like paralysis by overanalysis. And they're just like, no, just go run the play. Like, don't think about this cornerback or what he's doing. Just like, go run the play.
Yeah.
Seemed to work.
Good job.
All right. Let's go to the running back position. Trevor, who do you got on the expensive side here?
Yeah, I'm going to need our sleepers or our cheap options to hit, because I got Puka, and now I'm giving you CMC at 8,700 against Tennessee. Biggest workload in the league, over 25 touches per over his last 5, 7 total touchdowns scored in that stretch. Titans are a bottom half run defense, giving up more than a rushing score per game, which is 5th worst in the NFL. You start every week with basically 12 PPR points from this guy, just from his pass catching work. San Francisco is nearly a 2-touchdown home favorite against Tennessee. CMC is a great bet for multiple end zone trips in this one. And I do like CMC's floor a little bit. I think Jahmyr Gibbs might have a higher ceiling this week, but I think CMC just 25 touches. Nobody else is getting that. So
that's true. Well, maybe my expensive running back might get to 25 touches. It's Travis Etienne, 6,400 against the Jets. And I picked on this Jets team in this spot last week too. I had Achane as my expensive running back. He had 105 combo yards and a score on 8 touches before he got hurt, and then they took him out. And then Jalen Wright took over and had 24 carries for 107 and 1, and Ollie Gordon scored 2. And if you combine those 3 backs, it was 41.9 PPR points against the Jets last week for runners. And the prior 3 top runners to face the Jets, I am just recycling this stat from last week, 32, 22, and 30 PPR points. ETN carried the ball 20 times last week. had 74 ground yards, 2 rushing scores. And I think the only worry is the Jags get far too up early and they throw Etienne to the bench and bring in a guy I might mention later in the show.
I will say, I don't know if the Jags are like good enough to really be blowing teams out,
but
with, like,
they have
to go or anything. I know they have. It's just it's messing with me. It just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know.
I'll highlight that a little bit more later. Who's your budget runner?
Yeah, we're going Woody Marks for the Texans, 5,700 home for the Cardinals. Workload's really good, at least 16 touches in 5 straight. Matchups also excellent. Cardinals getting destroyed by enemy backs since the week 8 bye. They've given up at least 70 combo yards to every single number 1 they faced, and 80 yards to all of those except Ken Walker. Last week, the wheels completely fell off that run defense. They gave up 253 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground to the Rams trio of backs. Ronnie Rivers put up 40. Like there were actually 3 backs that got 8 carries. Nick Chubb is hurt, which should lock Marks into goal line work. The only other back that really gets any work is Dare Ogunbowale, who's a 31-year-old pass catcher. Marks didn't practice Wednesday, although he did finish the game on Sunday after suffering a minor injury, so I assume he's good to go, but just keep an eye on that Thursday and Friday practice report.
You make a 31-year-old pass catcher seem like he's like ancient. I mean, we got 44-year-old Phillip Rivers back. I'm a year older than him, but I mean,
what's the tweet?
It's nice to have a guy close to my age in the league still.
What's the evergreen tweet of here comes the 35-year-old quarterback, the oldest guy in the league. You know, how does he put it together? Like, how is he still alive? And then it's like me at 35, like showing up for my 9 a.m. Monday job, just like that. Just destroyed.
All right, my budget runner is Devin Neal, 5,600 against the Panthers. This one only works if Alvin Kamara is indeed inactive, and I don't think he's going to be active. He didn't practice on Wednesday as he's still coming back from that MCL sprain. Neal had 20 touches last week, 84 combo yards and a score. Evan Hull and Audric Estime were the other 2 backs involved. They combined for only 5 touches. If Neal gets another full workload against Carolina, things could turn out really well because I'm going to go through them line by line, but here's how it went. Since week 8, here's how the running backs have fared against Carolina. James Cook, he's a bell cow, 33 points. Josh Jacobs, he's a bell cow, 20 points. Kamara and Neal combined for 20 points. Bijan, bell cow, 30 points. Add in Algier, he had 9. McCaffrey, bell cow, 27 points. Corum and Kyron together, 27 points. So it feels like Devin Neal, we're looking at like a 20-point floor here at 5,600. What?
I might like Neal better than my guy. That's a good one.
All right, there we go. Let's go to the wide receiver position. Trevor, you get to start us off.
Yeah, we'll go George Pickens, 6,700 home for Sunday night against the Vikings. Obviously, he famously loafed through much of the Thanksgiving number 2 game last Thursday between Dallas and Detroit. Mm-hmm. Pickens is a guy that's very much online on social media. For example, after Dallas beat the Eagles a couple weeks ago, Pickens' Instagram story just said, "Weak butt Philly fans, y'all known for sandwiches," with like the laughing emoji. So I'm guessing he'll have seen all the edits on social media that are just clowning him for literally walking around. With CeeDee Lamb hurt too, right? Crazy.
Yeah.
I think he shows up with some fire in a national TV spot. We mentioned CeeDee didn't practice Wednesday with the concussion. Might not know his status until later, although it sounds like he's progressing well. I will say in the 4 games this year that Pickens played that Lamb did not, he had 5 for 68 and 1, 8 for 134 and 2, 2 for 57 and 1, and 9 for 168 and 1.
That seems
prior
good.
To last week's stud, it's decent. And prior to last week's stud, Pickens hadn't scored less than 12 PPR points since week 1. So I like this a little better, obviously, without Lamb, and hopefully we get some clarity before Sunday at noon on that. But I think Pickens is a good play either way.
All right, for my wide receiver, I'm going to double dip. I'm going to do my expensive wide receiver and my budget wide receiver in one giant blurb here. I got JSN at 8,500 and his teammate Rashid Shaheed at 4,100, both against the Colts. So Sam Darnold obviously should have been my cheap quarterback as well. So there's a bonus cheap quarterback, 5,800, by the way. So Sauce Gardner's still out for the Colts. Charvarius Ward is in the concussion protocol, so he's probably going to miss this game too. In the slot against JSN is Mekhi Blackman, PFF's number 104 ranked corner out of 111. So that's near the bottom. Kenny Moore and Jalen Jones are the other 2 corners. Moore is 74th ranked and Jones is unranked, but he's allowed 122 passer rating in his coverage this season. So Shaheed was targeted 5 times last week. He caught 4 of them for 67 yards. He's much more of a deep threat than Cooper Kupp at this point in his career. Plus, he scored that touchdown on a kick return last week. And Scott Fish let me know that Sam Darnold leads the league in completions over 10 yards this season. So time to chuck it deep against the Colts. I think the Seahawks have the ability to just put the foot on the gas here and blow out the Colts. Like 40 or 50 points is in play, I think, for Darnold and the Colts, or Darnold and the Seahawks this week. They got no corners and they got no quarterback. The Colts do. So if the Seahawks get up by 2 scores early, this one just could be in epic blowout mode. Indy pretty decent against the run as well. So passing should be the first and second option on Sunday. So I like both JSN and Rashid Shaheed, and I've built a couple of lineups with both of them in there.
Would you bring it back with anyone from the Colts, like a Tyler Warren, or just say this is dead on arrival? I'll just play this Darnold and these two.
I mean, if you want to get real weird, the guy I told you not to play, Jonathan Taylor, he's probably going to get 10 touches in this game. I just don't think the Colts can score a touchdown. That's my issue. Right.
I think you need probably like a couple, like just Jonathan Taylor superhero 55-yard runs where he just, puts 3 guys in the turf or something.
And honestly, like he's probably the only guy who can score a touchdown, but the rest of the team, I don't think they can. So I'd probably leave all of them outside of my lineup. So who's your budget wide receiver here, Trevor?
Yeah, this guy is real budgety. We got Jack Bash, rookie for the Raiders, 3,200 at Philly. Great matchup there. So Bash was the Raiders' 2025 second-round pick. He's finally getting some real run. On Sunday, he saw 82% of the snaps, which was second on the team behind Trey Tucker. He parlayed that into team lead in targets, catches, and yards last week. And we talked about Kenny Pickett will be coming in. I actually think that's an upgrade at this point with just how bad Geno's been. 4 of Bash's 6 catches last week came in the fourth quarter when Kenny Pickett took over for an injured Geno. Is Geno officially out? I just saw he missed practice Wednesday, but is he?
I saw that he missed practice, but they said Kenny Pickett's going to start. So
okay, so we're already perfect. Yeah. All right, and so Philly is not that imposing a matchup against receivers. Middle of the pack, giving up yards. They already lead at preventing touchdowns, but the Raiders weren't going to score any of those anyways. Vegas isn't an 11.5-point road dog, so there could be plenty of garbage time here, kind of like we saw last week with Pickett to Bash.
Oh, Kenny Pickett revenge game.
For his 4 backup appearances or whatever.
I think he got a start last year, didn't he?
Yeah, maybe he did.
Week 18 start.
Washington, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the tight end plays. We'll go back to you, Trevor. Who's your expensive tight end?
Yeah, so Trey McBride and Brock Bowers are the 2 most expensive guys on the slate, and they face the 3rd and 5th toughest matchups for tight ends. So I'm going to go with the next guy, George Kittle, 5,700 against Tennessee. Kittle's matchup against Tennessee, middling tight end defense since the week 10 bye has allowed performances of 6 for 51 to Dalton Schultz, 3 for 45, and 1 to Brent Strange. And then last week, Harold Fenton went nuclear, career day of 8, 114, and 1. Over his past 4 games, Kittle's been heavily involved. Average stat line is 6 for 74 and over half a touchdown. Even just the 6 for 74 mostly gets you there on a sub 6K price tag. And he's one of the, we always say, one of the handful of tight ends that's got the 25-point upside.
Yeah, that's true. My expensive tight end, he might have 25-point upside, but it would take a lot. It's Dalton Kincaid, 4,600 at New England. He did end up scoring a touchdown last week against the Bengals. I used him as my cheap tight end last week. So did Jackson Hawes of the Bills, by the way. And Dawson Knox had 93 yards and a touchdown called back for a penalty. So it was almost another epic day against the Bengals. It seems like Josh Allen likes his tight ends, though, and it's a fairly big matchup for the Bills in New England. Lots of playoff implications on the line. The last time Kincaid faced the Pats, he had 6 catches for 108 yards, and the Pats have allowed the 8th most receptions to the tight end position. I just like this spot for a guy at 4,600. He seems like the guy I end up in my wide receiver tight end position a lot on FanBall.
Yeah, and last week they said he was like really gutting it out, and he ended up playing a decent amount of snaps and wasn't terrible. But I think another week of rest should do him a lot of good, just considering how much we saw Dawson Knox producing in that spot.
Yeah. All right, cheap tight end time, Trevor. Go ahead.
Yeah, Harold Fannin, 4,400 at Chicago. The Browns' other tight end, David Njoku, suffered a knee injury on Sunday, was DNP on Wednesday's practice report. He's also a free agent after the year. So I kind of lean that he just sits and Cleveland gives their draft pick some more run. Fannin took big time advantage of Njoku's injury last week. The Bears allowed 18 touchdowns to tight ends this year. Not great. Over the last three, they gave
the Bears have not allowed 18 touchdowns to tight ends this year. That can't be real because that's more than the Bengals.
I was gonna say that I think it was third most when we're doing it live here. Hang on. Chicago against the tight end. Sorry. 5. Where did I get 20? All right. Honestly, no idea. Was that like a Trey McBride stat? And
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
last week.
Let's get back to Harold Fannin.
I feel like Harold Fannin though. Fish and I were talking about him a lot about how when Shedeur scrambles, Fannin like mimes him and goes the same direction, and he's just like the outlet every time.
Yeah, and then here's some stats that are true that'll throw at you. They gave up 8 for 62 to the Steelers tight end monster foursome, 5 for 57 to Packers tight ends. Nobody knows who the Packers tight ends are anymore. Fannin does have solid chemistry with Shedeur as well. 3 straight contests with 4 catches or a touchdown. Like you said, he's got some good science with the Shedeur there.
He's the top target every week for Shedeur, so that's a good thing. My budget tight end. This is the part of the show where we pick on the Bengals tight end defense. So it's Isaiah Likely, 3,500 at Cincinnati, and I made fun of his butter hands earlier in the show. He did score though last week, and then he scored again, ran about 3 steps, had it stripped out of his hands in the end zone. He would have had a 19 or 20 point fan ball day if he has that ruled a touchdown. And the week before against these Bengals, he dropped it on his own right at the goal line. He had 5 for 95 in the game, but it would have been another 20 points had he just held onto the ball for 1 second longer. Last week on the show, I mentioned that the Bengals were 6 PPR points per game worse than the next worst tight end defense. After giving up 137 yards and 2 touchdowns to the tight end last week, they're now 8 points worse than every other tight end defense in the league. Tight ends are averaging 24.1 points per game against Cincinnati as a group. I went and looked who the best tight end group offensively is in the league. It's the Cardinals. They average 12.5 points per game. They're like, it's like you get 2 games worth of tight end points from the best tight end group in the league when you start a tight end against Cincy. So Mark Andrews definitely in play. Isaiah Likely super in play here. I think he can absolutely just smash, and it's possible that he could get to 2 touchdowns and close to 100 yards like he's done in the last 2 weeks.
Any love for Charlie Kolar or Peyton Ricard? Patrick Ricard, if they line those guys up?
I think Ricard they keep in the backfield.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, fire up Kolar too, for sure. All right. Deep sleeper time, Trevor. Who do you got?
Yeah, so I'm going another tight end here. I think I like Likely better at the same price, but Colby Parkinson is 3,500 for the Rams this week against Detroit. This is a great way to get cheap exposure to that Lions-Rams game with the 55-point total. Parkinson has 4 catches or a touchdown in 5 straight games, with 4 touchdowns total over those 5. Detroit is top 3rd against the tight end on the season, although recently they allowed both Theo Johnson and Jake Ferguson to clear 10 PPR points over their last 3 games. So it's tough to get exposure to that game without paying $8,000 for somebody. And so Colby Parkinson's a decent way to get a little action on that one.
All right, I'm going to play this button, Trevor. Last week, my deep sleeper was Jerry Jeudy. He had 3 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Woo!
As soon as I saw, because it was a big long touchdown, right? That I think he had. Yeah, I thought of you as soon as I saw that.
All right, let's go with Bayshul Tootin this week, 4,200 against the Jets. I highlighted the running game against the Jets earlier in the ETN matchup, but Tootin comes in when the Jags are blowing out people. He scored against the Titans 2 weeks ago when the Jaguars won by 22. He had 74 yards in a score against the Chargers in week 11, and the Jaguars won that game by 29. Call it a hunch. I think the Jags might run away with this one against the Jets. That leaves plenty of garbage time for Tootin. I expect him to get most of the work in the second half of this game. It makes me a little nervous about my ETN call.
That Tootin will be so good he eats too much of the work.
No, that the Jaguars are just going to be so far ahead that ETN might not play in the second half.
Sure.
The Jaguars are playoff bound, so they got to start resting people.
Crazy.
Yeah. Do you have a lineup or a strategy for this week's games?
Yeah, this one's all right. I got Stroud and Stafford at QB, CMC, Marks, and Travis Etienne at running back, Puka, Pickens, Besh at receiver, and then I got Isaiah Likely at the tight end spot.
All right, that sounds pretty sweet. I'm going to pop up the old, on the video screen here, the old 5x5 for this week. The Sunday 5x5 contest is only the late games again. This one's called a top-heavy 5x5 because we made the top prizes worth a lot more, and we're paying out a little bit less, a bit fewer places this week. Just trying some new things out. A lot of these guys that we really liked, we highlighted already in the show. We have Puka, we have Gibbs, we have Taylor, who we didn't like as much. We have JSN, McCaffrey. That's your $5 row. But some of the guys I think that are really interesting, Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones down in that $1 row going up against the Dallas defense. I think that's pretty intriguing there. And, you know, JJ McCarthy at only $2. I liked him. But you were saying get exposure to that Detroit and Rams game. Jameson Williams, $2. Kyron Williams, $2. All the Williamses are $2, by the way. And Amon-Ra is only $3. So anything else stick out to you, Trevor?
Yeah, actually, I like the if you just start with JJ, if you go JJ for $3, and then you can run it back with like CD Lamb or George Pickens, and then go with a couple $5 guys. Kind of like that.
And you liked Kittle a lot too, and he's also a $1 dude this week as well.
Yeah, is there anyone on Tennessee? Yeah, there's nobody on Tennessee in the pool, right? No. I suppose they don't have anyone worth anything. So
no, we're not. We're not running any Titans out there in the 5x5. Come on,
you could go Purdy to Kittle. That would be a good start.
Yeah, there we go.
$10 left. Sheesh.
All right. That was the 5x5. Go play the 5x5. It's $5 to play. There's no positional requirements. $5 players, $4 players, all the way down to 1. You have to build the best 5-player lineup with $15 in salary cap. And so you can go play that. $250 to the top prize in that one this week. Trevor, do you have a lineup for us this week?
Yes. Didn't I just go over it a couple minutes ago?
Gosh, yeah. I was
It's all good. I had my screw up, and now it's
yeah, you know what? I had admittedly on-show production meeting here for the people who made it to the very end of the show. I forgot to get the 5x5 overlay in. It was done, but I was like, oh crap. So I was loading it in while you were going over your lineup. So my lineup's going to be better though. I got some pretty. It
was last week. I gave out some kind of rotten advice. So
here, you know what? I'll give out my lineup that I have for our $10 internal right now. I got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. ETN is my other running back. I got JSN plus Jamar Chase and Rashid Shaheed as my wide receivers. I got Likely and Fannin at my tight end and flex, and Sam Darnold as my other quarterback.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I think that's got more of a ceiling than my lineup does. I just think that some of the correlation is a little better.
Big Seattle and Baltimore stacks there. 3 on each. So let's go. Plus Jamar Chase to run it back on the other side for Cincy.
Yeah. He hasn't had an explosion game in a minute. So
yeah, it's been a little while. His price is depressed a little bit there too. We didn't even talk about him today.
There's a little bonus expensive receiver for you.
Oh, there we go. All right. Fanball, go play. Almost is the promo code that'll get you a $20 deposit match. You don't even have to be a new guy. As long as you haven't used the almost promo code before, you can go use it. $20 deposit match. Play on Fanball winners on the app. You'll love it. Try Game Blazers this week too. Win your share $36,000 in prizes in free roll games. Sign up with the referral code FFAD for a free starter pack and a free rare pack. Learn more at GameBlazers.com. This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Thank you, Trevor. We'll see you tomorrow for the Fantasy Friday episode. It'll be you and me and Maj. We'll get it going. All right. See you then.
This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts.